Hello again, Otters. Welcome to Week 7 of the BOL Platinum League. We did unfortunately have to take last week off due to some technical difficulties, but hopefully our coverage of Season 11 will be able to continue tonight without any further issues. The best of 3 that we have ahead of us. Sorry, what was that production? Okay, so we do have the Nameless team, formerly known as the Nameless Gnomes, and AIE Anguish about to battle in this best of 3. Last week, the formerly Gnomes were defeated by the Big Duck Entourage, which did move BDE ahead of them in the standings. It was a tough-fought match, with Nameless able to take the win in Game 2 thanks to jungler Shinsen's performance on the Wukong. Shinsen had an 8-5 and 11 KDA with 70% kill participation, which was the highest on the team. Unfortunately for the formerly Gnomes, it was not enough to carry them through. They are now are they still the Nameless Legion? They are just the Legion. Okay, unfortunately for the Legion, formerly the Gnomes, it was not enough to carry them through to a match win. The Wukong was picked away from them in Game 3 by BDE on the B1, and the Gnomes were swept aside by Outrage's Azir and Vendetta's Aatrox, resulting in the Big Ducks taking 5th place overall, and the Legion being pushed down to a tie for 6th, their playoff position in jeopardy with only 3 weeks left to play in the regular season. For AIE Anguish, their team name unfortunately fits a little bit too well, I think, because Anguish is a good way to characterize this season for them. Already out of playoff contention, AIE has only managed to pick up a single game win over the first 6 weeks. It was against SG Proton back in Week 4. Last week, they faced off against the other bottom 2 team in First Class Esports and suffered a devastating 0-2 defeat, putting them in serious danger of finishing last place in the league, a fate that I am sure they would like to avoid if at all possible. So, for one team, a fight for playoffs; for the other, a fight for pride. In position here in the BOL production room to take you through it, my name is Crewman44. I am joined by the superb Stoat for week number 7. Stoat, how we doing?
Hey, I'm doing well. And thank you for the intro. That was brilliant.
My pleasure.
And, as far as Anguish goes, they can at least, make a nice showing tonight, if anything, which does count for something. And
I think it does. I think it does indeed count for something. We are moving into the drafting phase here, Stoat. Anything you're going to be keeping an eye on in particular for this Game 1 draft?
Yeah, so for the formerly nameless, now the Legion, they now have a name.
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm definitely going to be looking toward Must Forgive Me. He's been a pretty strong powerhouse for this team, and I assume he will be continuing that trend.
Yeah.
As for champions, strong on the Aatrox, strong on Cassante, and been playing a lot of Poppy in that solo queue, so I'm wondering if we're going to see Poppy come out tonight.
Poppy's pretty based. I'd be happy to see the Poppy myself. I'm
Yeah.
a bit of a Lorlo fan. He always tearing it up on the Poppy, so that would definitely be cool to see. We're moving through
Yeah.
our first couple of bands here already. We've got Jinx and Mordekaiser taken away by the Legion. We've got Amumu and Volibear taken away by Anguish, looking to potentially target Shinsen's jungle pool here.
The Volibear is a big ban, and that champion has just been so oppressive in the jungle, such strong early gank presence. So it makes sense to see that one off the board. And the Mordekaiser ban, and I did see that. Let me look at my notes here real quick. Sorry, handwriting isn't the cleanest.
No worries, no worries. I did see the Mordekaiser actually yesterday in the Running the Rift Combine. Somebody was playing Mordekaiser jungle. I don't believe it won, though.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to point out. Mordekaiser jungle.
Ah.
Not the most common pick, but he does have pretty decent clear, and he can have decent ganks if you have a lane with good setup. Nice strong CC with that Mordekaiser grab. It is very difficult to get out of that.
Certainly. Well, not going to be seeing him in this game, of course. Stoat has been banned away by the Legion. Thresh and Silas going to round out this first phase of bans. It's going to be Zach on the B1. Of course, usually a jungler, historically speaking, but seen him a lot in the solo lanes recently. Do you have a prediction for where the Zach might be going?
Generally speaking, I think it's most likely that he's top lane. That's just where he's been in most places in the league scene. However, it's a great flex pick, so they could always switch it up as needed. Let's say there's a good counter top lane. Well, you can always put him in the jungle and you're safe. The Maokai, a nice answer to the Zac all-in engage.
Yeah. Another flex pick, of course. The support Maokai was nerfed a couple of times after Freak got his elo. Then he relented and allowed the Maokai to be nerfed a little bit. So we have been seeing him a little bit more in the jungle recently, but still could, I think, be played comfortably in either one of those positions or even the top lane. Has also been a thing in the past, the top lane tree. Caitlyn is going to be coming through here as well for AIE Anguish.
2 comfort picks for AIE Anguish. A lot of Caitlyn played for Chef J, and Zebra Killer is well known. Maokai's nothing to be scoffed at. Looking at that solo queue, he's been playing that. So hopefully they can make something work tonight with these 2 very strong champions in this meta, especially with Caitlyn's early game presence against a Sivir.
Yeah, definitely. For Chef J on the Caitlyn, he's got 23 games this season, 57% win rate over there in solo queue. So definitely some pretty good stats there. And yeah, should be favored, I think, into the Sivir, as you say, Stoat. Sivir paired up alongside the Nautilus here is a nice, strong support that should be able to offer some presence in the lane. Very interesting to see what Anguish is going to decide to utilize as the support counter pick there.
Yeah, and if I were Team Legion, I would be looking at some Enchanter bans. Let's get Melio out of the way. Someone who's very strong disengage. You don't want that for Nautilus, of course. And Nautilus Sivir, such a strong combo, because Sivir can hit you from across the lane with her boomerang. And Nautilus is so strong early game. So much damage out of that champion.
Yeah, certainly. But the Ahri is going to be the selection here on R3. I wonder if this means that the likelihood of the Maokai being support is increasing. Because otherwise, definitely the possibility of getting some of these champions banned away here by the Legion. You already mentioned the Melio. I think there's some other strong kind of Enchanter picks alongside the Caitlyn that could make that Sivir Nautilus lane struggle a little bit early on. Yeah. No, actually, it looks like they're going to be looking towards the top lane. Maybe just not sure where the Maokai is going and, not wanting to gamble on that.
Yeah, and frankly, it's probably not the biggest deal in the world. Nautilus is very strong, and if his lane phase isn't going to be, the most prominent, Sivir's pretty good at the 2v1 matchup, can farm well under turret, and is fairly safe with her spell shield, so he could be a roaming menace.
Very true. Very true. Definitely a great roamer, the Nautilus. I'll have to see if anything like that does end up coming through. But through the second phase of bans now already stoked. So another top lane option, the Ornn as well as the Renekton. to be banned away by Legion, and then a couple of mid lane options here
Yeah, really
removed
targeting
by
top lane.
Anguish.
Really targeting that top lane. Ornn and
Mhm.
Renekton. And I like to see it. Renekton is a very powerful champion. And with an Ari
Mm.
and a Caitlyn, that's a mid-game powerhouse team right there. So I'm glad to see that off the pick for Anguish.
Yeah, looks like Nami is going to be the selection in that support position. This is the most played for Decoy. His support for AIE Anguish got 19 games, only a 42% win rate, but does have a very high KDA. So
Hmm.
I guess maybe we could assume team diff in those losses, perhaps. I don't know. Hard to say,
Okay.
but certainly not a typical pairing alongside the Caitlyn. We'll see what they can do with the two champs, though, as they are both comfort picks, as mentioned. Jarvan going to come through here on the B4, as we do now know it is Maokai jungle, almost certainly.
Oh yeah. And I really like to see that. I like to see the Jarvan matching up with Zac. Either of these champions can set up engage for the other. Very nice. And they will force you to burn flash. And so a Zac or a Jarvan could catch a flash thereafter. Adding to that flash catching, the event horizon from Veigar is just, it's going to be really tough for Ari to move around in these team fights with 3 or 4, including Nautilus, very strong CC champions.
Yeah, I mean, Ari, of course, a pick known for her mobility and her ability to kind of get out of the way a lot of that CC. But as you say, so when there's this much of it, it can definitely make things a little bit difficult. And you, of course, cannot Spirit Rush out of the event horizon, the Veigar cage there. So that
Mhm.
can certainly complicate things for the Ari. And yeah, it's definitely a lot of CC for the Gnomes here. They're really going to be looking to set up their Sivir to carry through those later game team fights, it seems, with this composition. As the R5 pick for Anguish going to be the Malphite into the Zac. What do you think about that R5?
Absolutely, crewman. And frankly, I really like to see them outfight because if you look at Anguish's team, they're saying, well, okay, Legion has really great all-in engage. We have excellent counter engage. Caitlyn is very safe in the back line. She's got incredible 650 range, right? You have Nami, who can use her ultimate to disengage the fight and set up Ari's movement in the team fight, as well as Maokai's root with his ult, his is it not Twisted Advance. I'm sorry.
Nature's Grasp.
Nature's
Yeah, the
Grasp. Thank
Twisted
you.
Advance is the W. So you were
Yes.
on the right track there.
But that being said, they have very strong disengage, and I like to see that. Let's see if they can pull it off. And I imagine it's going to be a tank Malphite. I know it's been very popular, specialized from Chinese solo queue, to have that all-in burst
Of course.
Malphite. But in the top lane against Zac, I don't think we're going to see that. I think we're going to see a true to his design, original intention from Riot tank Malphite.
Yeah, absolutely right. I do think that is the more likely scenario to try and set up for the Caitlyn and Ari to really be the ones to do the damage. And I think Malphite can be much better at that sort of counter engage use case that you were highlighting for us just now. But I am, I think, a little bit surprised that Anguish didn't go for something. I mean, you could have gone for something a little bit more aggressive, but I guess it's difficult to push Zac out of lane. So maybe it does just make sense to match it with another tank in towards that top side. It just feels a little bit bad. You have the opportunity to go for the counter pick here on the R5, and the Malphite is good here, but it's not the most exciting R5 pick, let's say, that we've ever seen.
Yeah, definitely a wet noodle fight top lane, and I guess it's a sort of respect to Must Forgive Me. He's a pretty dominant top laner, third highest kills per game in the Plat League. So
Oh.
with that Jarvan setup, it really may be a respect answer, and I appreciate that. It's also a great answer into Veigar, who doesn't have many tools to escape.
Yeah, certainly right. It does kind of lead us into the question of where we think Cream Cheese here, the Legion jungler, is going to be prioritizing early on with the Jarvan, right? If top lane's not really an option, Jarvan is obviously a champion where you want to be active on the map as early as possible. That is his greatest strength. So where do you think Cream Cheese is going to have those opportunities given these drafts?
Well, I would normally say the Caitlyn bot, right? Because Caitlyn is a champion that wants to be pushing you at your turret, especially with a Nami, who's going to use her abilities to empower Caitlyn's incredible auto attack range. However, because they're on red side, it may not be the easiest gank route, but you do have Event Horizon for Veigar, and you do have a Jarvan on your team. That's an incredibly strong combo, and it's a good way to shut down Ahri, who's been such a power pick in every league, professional and otherwise, in League of Legends. She is just so strong right now. Still, if Caitlyn pushes up and doesn't respect that gank attempt, she is a sitting duck.
Certainly, certainly. You know, I do think it is especially important that the Jarvan does find that early impact. You know, they do have really strong scaling on the composition for the side of Legion as well. You know, obviously Sivir and Veigar are both going to scale in towards the later stages exceptionally well. So in that sense, maybe not as critical. But on the other side, you know, for Anguish, once Ahri gets access to the Spirit Rush, and you know Malphite has the Unstoppable Force, and Caitlyn does also have the net to get out of a potential Cataclysm theoretically. So you know I do think that the Jarvan's job this game might not necessarily be the easiest, but if he can successfully you know put those carries on the squad in a position to succeed, then that's you know that's going to be job done.
I agree, and adding on to that, if Jarvan and if more generally Team Legion doesn't pull ahead, there's a lot of tankiness on the side of Anguish and a lot of scaling, because Jarvan just does not have that much. He doesn't really build defensive stats. He doesn't have the same ability to take damage. And although Veigar will hurt, I mean, against the Malphite and a Maokai, it's not going to be the most effective damage against them.
Very true. Very true. Overall, stoked. Are you leaning towards one draft or another? Do you think either team found a meaningful edge here in the champion select phase for our first game of the night?
Well, in terms of mid game, definitely liking Team Legion's draft. If it gets to late game, I am actually in favor of Anguish's draft. I think it's easier to pull off, and I think they're just going to outscale with the tankiness.
All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see, guys. Lots of engage, lots of frontline, and a good amount of scaling on both sides. So both teams should have the tools that they need to potentially succeed in this game number one. For Legion, remember, this is a must win, as the rest of their games of the season are going to be to try and hang on to this playoff spot. They're hanging by a thread right now. For AIE Anguish, the fight to not finish last. Let's see who takes this first game right after the break. my dear otters. Welcome on to Summoner's Rift for the first time tonight. Once again, we have Legion on the blue side going up against AIE Anguish here on the red. And we were just before coming live noticing a couple of interesting rune and summoner spell choices that have been made, Mr. Stope.
Yeah, crewman, can you please tell me what's going on with Zach Top? What are those summoners you?
Yeah, well, the summoners that the Zactop has selected are Ignite and Teleport. The Teleport, pretty standard stuff there. Seen that many times. The Ignite, growing in popularity a little bit more recently as people have, become more comfortable with the Zactop and the capabilities of the pick. And it does indicate that Must Forgive Me is going to be looking for some more kills. You highlighted for us in the draft, third highest kills per game this season in the Plat League. And the Ignite, I think, plays into that very nicely.
Yeah, and I'm a bit skeptical because they have such a strong gank potential with that Jarvan, and it's a long lane. Granted, yes, you're Zach. Your E can get you out of really sticky situations fairly easily. However, he can be interrupted by Jarvan. And it's really a call-out pick, I think. I mean, yeah, Zach's fairly safe, but still, to take no flash, you're not the tankiest person in the world, and I believe it was hotfixed his health regeneration with his blobs, so you can't just rely on forever sustained Zach Top the same way you could have last patch.
Yeah, certainly the case. So, going to be playing things a little bit more aggressively, potentially. Must forgive me up there. But speaking of playing things aggressively, as we got Cream Cheese, level 2 gank in the bot lane, as Jarvan does like to do. Going to get the flash out from Decoy's Nami. Relatively worthwhile, but Zebra Killer at the same time going for a little bit of a counter jungling action here. Going to be able to pick up those Raptors and have a little bit of a lead in that individual jungle matchup. Ooh, NyQuil already getting pretty low up here, actually.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely not an even trade. I mean, the Malphite brought to about 33% HP before healing up with the pot. And as for that bot gank, I really like that because Nami is squishy. Nautilus can go without his flash fairly easily. Oh my, he's getting really low. It shouldn't really amount to much. He's still healing up.
Oh, that's another slingshot. What the heck?
Well, there's another.
Seriously, all right. I mean, I'm glad we mentioned the Ignite and all that because Must Forgive Me is getting some use out of it very early on in this one.
Oh yeah, making me eat my words. Granted, NyQuil Killer just did not respect that huge minion wave build-up. He had a turret not even 40 pixels away from him. It's a bit disrespectful, but good on Must Forgive Me, showing why he has the third highest KDA in the league. And now, Nami really taking some damage, huh, crewman?
Yeah, definitely. And really great to see from Must Forgive Me as well. The fact that he's able to get that deep vision after picking up the solo kill, right, as a jungler. It warms my cold, cold heart to see my top laner, or any top laner, being proactive like that and getting more information for the team. So Zebra Killer not going to be in time to this North Side River. The Scuttle Crab smote away by Cream Cheese. Well, the Jarvan able to stay even in that jungle matchup, despite the fact that his Raptors were counter-jungled.
Yeah, and honestly, as for Jarvan, I like how he's invading the jungle. He does have a stronger 1v1, and will that? Okay.
Finds the EQ. Zebra Killer in trouble. Twisted advance back towards the red buff. Does manage to get the smite on the camp, and that is going to bring the Maokai up to level 4. So Jarvan not wanting the smoke anymore. Cream Cheese likely just going to back away. It was a good attempt, but unsuccessful this time around for the J4. But oh my goodness, NyQuil is teleported back to lane. He's already running out of HP again.
Yeah, and this is really dangerous.
Oh man, yeah, Cream Cheese now feeling emboldened, knowing that the enemy top laner can't move over to help. It's going to push Zebra Killer off the Krugs a little bit there. I'm a little bit surprised they're not actually going for a dive here.
Yeah, and they very well could. It looks like they're setting it up. There's no jungler to help, and Ahri's nowhere in sight. This is very dangerous for NyQuil Cold Killer.
Oh, the stretching strikes to set up the CC. Cream Cheese does barely manage to get out of range. Will not be killed off by that second turret shot, and the Legion are up 2-0 in the early game.
For sure. That's fantastic. Cream Cheese, a substitute tonight, really showing his worth here. That was an excellent gank. Very well done by both the top and the jungle from Team Legion, formerly nameless gnomes.
Right. Yeah, we hadn't mentioned that yet, actually. The fact that Cream Cheese was a sub. Shinsen, the usual jungler, playing support tonight, as we can see. And taking a quick look at the gold right here as well. So the Zac top already up 1K over the Malphite. And comes Zebra Killer, though. Got a little bit of play towards this bot side. Shinsen in trouble. Nautilus getting burned down extremely low. Bubble will not land, and it will not matter. The Ignite, actually, what takes the last hit on the support, as Decoy gets the first kill of the game for AIE Anguish.
Great answer from Zebra Killer, and they have priority on this dragon. Ahri has priority in mid lane. They could very well go for an early dragon. Looks like they're setting that up.
It does appear to be the call, yeah. We do have Cream Cheese on this side of the map, and Ahri did not fully shove in this wave, so Stealth could theoretically push it out and move over, and it looks like we will not actually be getting any early neutrals just yet.
Yeah, not sure what that was about. Maybe they're afraid of Cream Cheese's potential to fight. However, Ahri is about to hit level 6. So this is the time where she's really safe in lane and can put some hurt onto Veigar.
Yeah, definitely. The roaming threat of the Ahri is very real right now, and the Legion are going to be spotted as they start up this objective. Zebra Killer doesn't have the Nature's Grasp yet, but they can absolutely easily move in here and collapse on this jungle support duo that are looking to take the dragon, as here comes the whole squad for AIE Anguish. Jarvan, does Cream Cheese, did he fail his EQ? I think Jarvan might be stuck in the pit here. Shinsen going down very low, but Stealth has made the roam over as well on the Veigar, getting Decoy extremely low. The last Baleful strike will secure the kill. The absolute bloodbath. Cream Cheese forced to flash over the wall into the enemy jungle. Stealth going to do the same. You guys are on the wrong side of town. How are they going to be able to make it out alive?
Oh no, this is looking pretty risky. I can't imagine they're going to get out of this. If they do, oh, they're scared. They're scared to check. Wow, that was, I think, a big misstep from Zebra Killer and Azure Fire. You know they're low. Bot lane's coming. You know where everyone else in their team is, but you're too scared to check the Jarvan for the EQ combo, I imagine. But with his health, was it really that much of a risk? I don't think it was at all.
Yeah, I mean, Azure Fire was pretty low mana on the Ahri, only had enough for really one spell at that time. So, I mean, I guess the call was to just, they didn't want to waste the time looking for him. They weren't sure where the Legion members were basing. And Ahri just wanted to get back towards that mid-wave, shove it out so she could get off her reset. And Anguish did manage to secure the dragon as well. So overall, they did get what they came for. I believe that in the aftermath of the fight, I think it was a 2-for-1 or maybe a 3-for-1 in their favor as well. So, or no, I mean, it was only 2 kills, I think. Yeah, two, I believe.
Yeah, Kaylin came very close to dying there, living on skin of. Actually, she did die. My bad. I didn't even see that at the end. A lot of action.
It was a messy fight. Yeah.
It was a little unfortunate that Veigar did use his ultimate ability. To me, didn't quite have the maximum output of damage. If that were on the Ahri, that set of circumstances. However,
yeah, go ahead.
Still did a lot of damage. Still did fairly well, all things considered, given the lack of priority. And
Shinsen looking to prevent the counter jungling there, but Zebra Killer able to secure all the Krugs.
Yeah, saving Private Ryan over there. Zebra Killer manages to escape without much issue. But Void Grub's going over to Cream Cheese. That's going to be pretty big. It looks like they got all 3 grubs.
They sure did. Yeah, so it is going to be a trade of those early neutrals. The grubs over to Legion. Of course, the first dragon, as previously mentioned, over to Anguish. Oh, that's the stun connecting onto Azure Fire. The Primordial Burst utilized as well, but the Ahri will not be taken down. It's holding on to the ultimate and the flash still as well. So Azure Fire totally fine in this mid lane. Go for another base.
Yeah, summoners and just following Caitlyn. Nami has flash, which is great, but if this Caitlyn gets hooked, that's real bad news.
Yeah, the side of Shinsen on the Nautilus, still only level 5, so can't actually just go for the depth charge onto the summonerless Caitlyn just yet. Certainly something that I think they might be looking for, as Caitlyn and Nami, we can see, just getting some vision in the river right now. Going to allow this wave to push into them.
Yeah, and they do have Void Grubs, so they can Essentially, if they shoot stay, which frankly I think it's Sivir's gotten mana. She's on farm against Caitlyn.
Yeah. A little bit of internet whoopsie there for Stoat. Hopefully that resolves itself in the immediate future. As we do have a play towards this top side. Unstoppable Force going to prevent the Zac from getting away with the Elastic Slingshot. Going to go for the Let's Bounce now. Going to get a lot of health back here. That's the power of the Zac. Knocks him together with the Stretchy Strikes as well. He's surviving for a long time, but I don't think there's a clean way out here for Must Forgive Me. He's going to have another E here coming off cooldown, potentially looking for the trade kill at the very least. Can't quite find it. Zebra Killer manages to stay alive, and they should have enough damage to destroy the Bloblets, and that will be a shutdown over to NyQuil Cold Killer on the Malphite.
And excuse me, just have to troubleshoot some internet issues. It
All
hopefully
good.
has resolved.
These things do happen.
Yeah, well, my bad. Shout outs to Comcast. But we're back, and seeing this bot lane getting to push in on Sivir with the Void Grubs, that is fantastic to see. That's exactly what a Sivir would like in this matchup, especially because Caitlyn's usually the one doing the shoving. However,
Absolutely right.
she's also up about almost 1.5 minion waves, which is also pretty fantastic, all things considered. This bot lane really not going how Anguish wanted it to.
Yeah.
And top lane is also losing, and honestly, mid lane seems to be the only even lane right now. An item, so there is that saving grace. Ahri can carry a game. She is super strong.
Sure. Yeah, that Malignant's done already for Azure Fire, the standard Ahri build these days. Yeah, I think the, Tagless moving over. Smite good from Zebra Killer. Dredgeline not quite going to connect, but the Maokai walking back up here could be dangerous. In comes the Event Horizon. The Maokai living for a long time, actually. Shinsen going low, but Tagless will eventually be able to finish off the enemy jungler. Cream Cheese blocks the Caitlyn ultimate. Very nice there from the sub-jungler. Dredgeline going back in. The lockdown onto the Ahri. Azure Fire in trouble. Barely clips the enemy support with the Orb of Deception. Will get taken down, but that was the Jarvan going down as well, and now Chef J able to clean up the Veigar, and it's gonna be a team fight win for Anguish. 3 for 2, I believe.
Just as I say it, hero play from Azure Fire, ulting in and then backwards the bit to get some space, let his carry Caitlyn come up from behind. Chef J cleaning up that fight. Well done. And that's what you need to do when you're falling behind. You need to make some coin flip plays to get back in the driver's seat, and they do, securing a second dragon for this game.
Yeah, pretty big. And it was right as we were talking about the fact that Chef J was falling a little bit behind in that matchup, right? It's a really difficult position for Caitlyn to be in, a champion that really relies on getting that early advantage, right? But huge that she's able to pick up a couple of kills there, get back some much-needed gold, and should be right back in this game. Got a Cloud Soul, looks like, on the table for us this time around. That's what Anguish are going to be working towards.
Yeah, and you know, Cloud Soul is actually going to be an excellent soul for them to get. They have a lot of, like, you know, with Malignance on top. Oh, looks like there's action in the bot lane.
Now Dredgeline connecting onto the Nami. Decoy able to flash away and stay alive, landing that Aqua Prison onto Tagless as well. Chef J can be able to get a good amount of damage out on the back end here. Tidal Wave connecting onto Shinsen as well, who does not have his own flash. Going to get taken down as the 90 caliber net connects. And Chef J picks up number 3.
And Chef J, that was clean. The caliber net to avoid the re-engage. And an easy kill bot lane, making it look so smooth. And, you know, we were just talking about that Caitlyn needing to get ahead. Well, she's doing what she needs to do to get ahead. Credit to Decoy for that incredible Nami tidal wave. That was very well placed and caught that flashless Nautilus. Can't really go far.
Yeah, it was a bold move from Tagless and Shinsen, right? It had been working for them so far in the lane. They were able to play on the front foot up until that point, but this time around, they just didn't really have the safety that they needed to go for that play, and they ended up getting outplayed by Chef J and Decoy over there. As Azure Fire going for the Spear Rush in towards this mid lane. Stealth going extremely low. Will get taken down as the power of the Malignance. Azure Fire able to get that extra burn damage. Cream Cheese arrives, but a little bit too late to the party. 9-6 now, and Anguish starting to pull ahead.
Yeah, and that's what I really like to see from this team. They're playing to the win condition, right? You get this R fed, you get your Caitlyn fed, You just let Malphite do what Malphite's going to do, slowly scale up. And remember, yes, he's behind, but defensive items are cheaper. So he can catch up, provided they give him the space to farm up.
It doesn't really matter how far the Malphite gets behind. He's always going to have access to his R button, assuming that doesn't break on his keyboard. That's the most important thing.
Truly an unstoppable force, huh?
Indeed, indeed. But we are seeing a little bit of additional pressure coming out from Legion towards this bot side. They're not ready to give up on this lane just yet. It's going to open up the mid lane, though, for Shelly to collide with this tier 1 turret. Only going to get it down to about 50% HP, so that one's still standing for the Legion for now.
Yeah, and somehow bot lane survives that siege, so very good to not lose that. However, top lane is lost, and I can imagine they're going to want to start rotating their bot lane top, provided they can push this turret in. You know, and that would be great to set up for this Rift. I'm sorry, not Rift Herald. This upcoming Baron. They're going to want to contest that in the next, I would say, 4 to 5 minutes, depending how these team fights go. And they do have to really prioritize these neutral objectives, Team Legion, that is, because they're going to have a harder comp to execute late game. You don't want to let this Malphite scale with the easy and stop.
Yeah, the Dragon, of course, will be coming up first before the Baron does arrive, as once again, Azurfire going for the Spirit Rush, dodges away from the event horizon there with the second charge on the ultimate. Yeah, the Dragon in about a minute here. How important do you think it is that the side of the Legion are able to secure this Dragon specifically to prevent that soul point from being achieved?
I'm sorry, internet connectivity. Please let me know if I'm lagging.
Yeah, just a little bit there. We can hear you for the moment, I think.
Okay, well, I'll give it a shot. As for the Dragon, you know, other than point, as far as the stats, I don't think this Wind Dragon is particularly important, but you do not want a team to be on soul point, because the threat is that they could choose to coin flip that Baron, and that is not something you want. You do not want a team, Caitlyn, having siege potential.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, it just gives you so many more options in the game if you are able to achieve that third Dragon stack. You know, it really gives you a lot of flexibility in towards the mid and later stages in terms of what you actually want to play for. We'll see. Dragon's going to be up in about 20 seconds, and as it spawns, we do see Anguish take down that bot tier 1, giving them more space to work with in this bottom half of the map. And the Legion in position right now. Cream Cheese and Shinsen starting to move in to try to get some vision control, but the trap line's going to get placed down by Chef J. It's a very difficult spot for the Legion to try and force their way into the river. Event Horizon not quite going to connect there onto the Ahri.
And look at this vision control from Anguish. There's really no way for Jarvan to safely navigate this fight, and there aren't that many great wards for Zac to even teleport to. And teleporting right into the Dragon Pit is not ideal for Zac.
Charm landing on a Shinsen. Nautilus chunk down to about 50%. Ace in the hole going to come out as well. That is blocked by the Jarvan. Cream Cheese tanking that up once again for their support. As, yeah, the top laners are just hanging out still up towards that top side. Neither one really eager to make the move down here, as there comes the teleport from Must Forgive Me. Malphite is going to have to reset first. Does also have the teleport after he, Nyquil replenishes that health bar, so can make his way down to this play as well if you'd like to. And there it is towards the southern part of the river. Legion trying to start up the objective. Must Forgive Me going for the engage up towards the north side of this fight. Tidal Wave comes out though. Unstoppable Force does connect onto Tagless, and the Zipper's immediately taken out right at the start. Must Forgive Me trying to buy as much time as he can, but the Zac alone is just not going to be able to get the job done. Now Stealth in a very awkward position. Zac into the Bloblets. Veigar doesn't have flash. He is absolutely going to die, and AIE Anguish get an absolutely monstrous teamfight win on top of their third Dragon.
Yeah, you know,
he's still alive. He's going to flash in and look for the steal. He does manage to get the Dragon, so that is something.
Or they couldn't actually. It was a pink ward. However, it's grouped up against the Malphite. They know the Malphite's coming. Their Zac just teleported. You've got to imagine that Nyquil Cold Kill is going to come soon thereafter. And ulted right onto that Sivir, right onto that Nautilus, and right onto Cream Cheese. It was a terrible situation, the perfect setup for Anguish. And on top of that, they did not have good wards for Zac to flank teleport to. You don't really want a Zac in vision if he can use his jump from the Fog of War. That is so much more effective to disrupt a team fight.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely right, Stoat. It was, I mean, I think it could have worked for Legion, but I think the bigger problem, even besides the fact that the Zac didn't have a good flank position, is the fact that they didn't really seem like they were on the same page for that fight. I mean, Must Forgive Me was very quick to peel off the objective and look for the turn, while half the team was still hitting the dragon and not really following up on that Zac engage. So it just looked very uncoordinated. And you know, we already mentioned the fact that NyQuil was able to get in there. Wasn't there before the Zac, but it didn't really end up mattering. He got on top of Tagless, wasn't able to spell shield that Malphite ultimate, and that was pretty much the fight right there.
Yeah, Shinsen, fine. He's just gonna. Oh, never mind.
He is fine, actually. There's an Ahri on the flank here, gonna land the charm, and this Nautilus is absolutely gone. Azure Fire picks up kill number 4.
Wow, I was expecting him to dredge line to safety, and not. I was not respecting Ahri's roam potential there, and that is not. I don't think it's going to be a Baron. I mean, a support is not the most important death time when they're slow, but they can certainly set it up. And this is a dangerous place for Team Legion to come into. You see them hiding in the bush. You do not want to face check a Malphite Maokai.
Legion, no vision in the Baron Pit itself. They do have that Scuttle Crab vision, providing them a little bit of knowledge, at least enough confidence to not immediately face check the Malphite, as you mentioned. But the Unstoppable Force connects onto the Veigar, and Stealth is just going to get absolutely zeroed out. Shinsen, back from the Death Chamber, is going to find himself in there once again. A double kill over to Azure Fire's Ahri, and now the side of AIE Anguish firmly in control.
Oh, that is definitely a Baron, and I really like to see the patience out of Anguish. They had the patient advantage. They didn't want to just start the Baron. It's still pretty early in the game, and that Baron debuff is strong. Cream Cheese setting up for another steal. And
flag, they know where he is now, though.
Yeah. And, I mean, if he hero plays this again, kudos to him. They should not let him do that. Poke him out.
Yeah, Azure Fire is going to find him in the bush. That Jarvan's going to get taken down, and that will guarantee the Baron over to AIE. Let's see what the gold lead jumps up to after they secure it. It's up to about 4.5K, it looks like, on that gold lead. And now, let's see what they're able to get done with their first Baron buff.
Yeah, and this is, you know, there's always potential to come back given, you know, people do make mistakes in game. However, it's looking really bad for Team Legion. Anguish's team, again, they just get so tanky, and they have such an easier team fight to pull off that it seems really hard to imagine that they're going to lose this game. And especially from this position, given their state of the dragon and having this Baron. They've got so much gold, so much power.
Oh dear.
Oh no. Riot may have struck
issue here. Yeah. We'll keep you guys updated and see if we can get gameplay to resume. Might have to figure out something with replay files or some such situation. But yeah, I mean, for the side of AIE Anguish, it's looked very straightforward for them, right? It's just been Malphite press and R on somebody, they die, and then AIE win the team fight. Pretty straightforward.
Pretty impressed. Our dead last facts. They're looking to get something on the series, and if they do, that only for credit, for morale, that's something. And it's also for practice for future seasons, right? You don't want to just end games just because you're not. It's great practice, great way to team situated for future competition.
Like you're having some more connection issues there, Stoat. We only got about half of that, unfortunately. But I think the gist of what you're saying is that, you know, the side of AIE Anguish in last place, you know, right now in the standings, is a really good confidence builder for them, right? The fact that they are able to get themselves into such a positive position in the game can really be a big confidence booster, not only for the rest of the season, but looking ahead to any future leagues or seasons that this team might be playing in. So definitely big props to them to be able to get themselves into this position, right? Even the fact that they're in last place clearly has not, destroyed team morale to the extent where they can't, function as a team in the game anymore. So that's really great to see, the fact that they can still find these advantages and get themselves into winning positions. Any kind of update production on what the plan is going to be? Yeah, all right, guys. So it seems like we are not going to be able, unfortunately, to get back into the Spectate client to watch the rest of that game number 1. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be feasible to get the replay file for the end of that first game as well, or if that's something that we're going to be able to do. But I think in the meantime, probably just go to a short break while we try to get things sorted and figure out what the plan is going to be. So sorry for the further technical difficulties, guys. We will do everything that we can to get you some more Blue Otter Plat League action as soon as possible. So we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere just yet. All right, everybody, welcome back to BOL Plat Week 7. Unfortunately, we did have some issues loading the raffle file, the replay file as well. So we are not going to be able to watch the rest of that game number 1. Just as a reminder, when the spectator client did break, we had just seen AIE Anguish secure the Baron, and they were about to start utilizing that Baron to try and gain further control over the map and potentially break into the Legion base. We do have the end of game screenshot here, Stoat, and we can be aware that Anguish did manage to close out that first game. Looks like they were able to put the finishing touches on the Nexus just after 30 minutes on game clock. Anything else from this game that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I mean, I think really what Team Legion should start looking at now is maybe an easier to execute comp. I think that was a big difference. Despite Must Forgive Me getting a substantial lead in lane, that did translate into later. He ended up having 2k more damage than his opponent in the top lane. It's just so easy to press R on your champions, The Maokai and the Malphite combo, surefire. Zach just needs more team coordination. And like you pointed out, Crewman, there were some flubs where it showed some miscoordination between the members of Team Legion.
Yeah, I do think that is a large part of went wrong for them in that first game. The composition, your point certainly well taken. The Zach can be difficult to play around. He's not as simple as somebody like, for example, the Malphite, right? Where it's very, very clear. Malphite goes in, gets that CC, holds people in place, and it's very obvious when the rest of the team needs to go in and follow up on that. With the Zach, it can be a little bit more ambiguous. He does kind of need to be a little bit more creative with these angles that he's looking for. So, forgive me. Obviously a valiant effort was destroying the Malphite in the 1v1 matchup in the top lane, but wasn't enough to get Legion towards the finish line or even really get them into a favorable position in the game. They were kind of on the back foot, it felt like, almost the entire time. Do you think we should give out a POG vote for this first one, Stoach? We obviously didn't get to see the full game, but maybe we saw enough of it to give an honorary POG vote to somebody?
Yeah, I think the POG, it's going to be a tough choice between Chef J and Azure Fire, but I would say Azure Fire opening up that early game, 2 dragon fights where he just did spectacular.
Absolutely right. Azure Fire did manage to top out those damage charts in game number 1 as well, just over 27k on the Ahri. But that's enough about game 1, guys. We are now jumping into our game 2 champion select. See what kind of adaptations are going to be made by Team Legion. See if they can bring this match to a game number 3. They will, of course, be now on the red side for this second game. See if that Zach's going to be left open to them.
Yeah, and I imagine Zach, I didn't have too much impact. I imagine they're not Zach.
Yeah.
Do you see a target ban against Cream Cheese there? Yeah, I saw in the solo queue he did play a good amount of Amumu recently, and Amumu is a very strong jungler. Also, pretty easy to execute.
So we are getting almost the exact same bans as game number 1, except the Legion banned away the Thresh previously. They are now going to swap that ban out for the Nami. Of course, Decoy's most played they did pull out in that game number 1. So that's going to be the only ban adaptation, as Maokai is going to be locked in once again for Anguish very early on in this draft. That is clearly what the jungler wants to play tonight. Will get their hands on it once again. And I did actually have a kind of a fun stat, Stoat, that I wanted to share with the class, if that's all right with you.
Oh, by all means.
The formerly nameless Gnomes, now Legion, actually have the most games played out of any team in the league so far this season. They have played 17 games, 18 now if we include game number 1 from tonight. 17 games for the first 6 weeks out of 6 best of 3. So you guys can do the math. I'm not going to do that on stream. I was told not to, but it's a lot of games. It is, in fact, the most games out of any team in the league. So, if that's any indication, then maybe we will be going towards that game 3 tonight.
Yeah, let's see if they can be the comeback kid. I wouldn't put it past them. They are 4 spaces higher in the rankings than Anguish. So their ability to come back, I would say it's pretty strong, and they're even right now choosing some pretty strong synergy between the Sejuani and the Misfortune 2 wombo combo, alt, lock you into Sejuani, and just obliterate you with the Misfortune Conal alt. I
Yeah,
do like
yeah.
seeing Kaisa as a counterpick to that. Kaisa has a lot of mobility and can reposition pretty easily in fights. And if she lands a good, I'm sorry for forgetting the ability name, she lands a good, I believe it's her W.
I believe
She
that's the
can
Void Seeker, Kaisa W, if
Void
I'm not
Seeker.
mistaken.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. She lands a good Void Seeker. She can alt to that Misfortune, reposition, and just assassinate her from the back.
Yeah, definitely the case. A couple of builds that the Kaisa could go towards as well. You know, the AP Kaisa, I've been seeing some play recently. I saw somebody playing that. I think it was one of these mid laners in one of the previous weeks. I don't quite remember who, though. I didn't make a note of that. But the AP Kaisa is certainly a relatively popular build these days, as the Braum, obviously a great answer into the Misfortune as well, for obvious reasons. And the Taric is going to be coming out here to complete this Legion bot lane for game 2.
Admittedly, Taric's a bit confusing to me. I'm not sure what the thought process is here, but we'll see how the rest of their composition, how it turns out. In the ASOL ban, let's see how they respond. I mean, they have a really strong setup. I would like to, I mean, I don't know if anyone on their teams play Azir, doesn't seem like it, but I would like to see an Azir ban should that be on the table. Azir would be fantastic into the Braum and into the Kaisa Maokai.
The mid lane bans from Anguish in the previous game were the Syndra and the Orianna. So we'll see if the Orianna is going to be that second ban once again, or maybe they do feel like the Azir is, or something like that, is going to be worth a look. As a course for, oh, go ahead.
I think Orianna would make a great mid laner to pair up with the Sejuani and the Misfortune.
Yeah. So I think it would not be surprising at all to see that getting banned away by Anguish once again. You know, of course, for Legion in the previous game, they had a little bit of a top lane focus in their second ban phase. That is going to be changed up this time around, as the Aurelion Soul in the way going to get removed. And there's the Ahri, actually. So Anguish clearly worried about Legion picking up that Ahri here on the R4, not wanting to see that go over. Does mean that the Orianna, though, is still available.
And Azure Fire really did a lot of work. I don't necessarily blame them for the ban. And I wonder, Galio.
Interesting. Yeah. Galio, of course, saw some buffs not too long ago. Do you recall what those buffs were, Stoat?
Yeah, wow, they were pretty substantial. So he mostly tank stats. The too long didn't read. Is he more tank stats and less priority on his damage? However, he did get better wave clear on his. I forgot the name of the punch.
Justice Punch.
Justice Punch. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. And that will definitely help his laning phase. About the damage output, you have Misfortune, but you're going to need a damage top laner because someone is going to have to help this Misfortune out in fights. You know, on the other side, Nico and Kaisa, that's a lot of lockdown and mobility.
Yeah, that's definitely fair, I think. You definitely don't want your Misfortune to be the only real damage threat on the team, because she is so reliant on getting off a good ultimate, right? And it can be hard to do that consistently against champions like Braum, for example, where he can just put up the door and say, actually, no, I will not be eating your bullet time. Thank you very much. So
for sure. And now the Malphite pick coming out, and that's going to make things much harder. Stay in the same spot, stationary, to channel her ultimate.
100%.
So, this is going to be a very difficult game for Chef J, and I'm wondering what they're going to pick for the top lane. Gwen, that's a lot of damage and a pretty good answer to get into the.
Yeah, we got a little bit more of a carry threat this time around for Must Forgive Me, and should be a great matchup into the Malphite as well, of course. You know, definitely interesting to see, you know, as we complete these compositions. I will say you were a little bit confused or perplexed maybe by the Taric earlier on. I'll offer a couple of points in the Taric's defense. Taric does tend to do very well in a couple of situations. The main one being when there's a lot of melee champions on the enemy team that he's going to be able to auto attack. It allows him to get the resets on his abilities very frequently. So that can give him a lot of value in that kind of sense. And of course, the ultimate excels in situations where the enemy team is trying to dive on top of you. And if you time it correctly, you can nullify the dive to a great extent. And I think with champions like Kaisa and Malphite, and even the Nature's Grasp from the Maokai can be pretty telegraphed, right? So if you do time that that Taric ultimate correctly, then I think there could potentially be a lot of value there.
Yeah, and adding to your point, they do have a team that's great for going in and creating a lot of distraction. Ajwani, Taric, Galio, these are champions that are dive in the backline, and Gwen, of course, and have a lot of sustainability to survive those fights, especially with the Taric ultimate synergy. So Miss Fortune may have an ability to just hang out in the backline and fire off her ultimate. Still, he needs to be so careful about flanks. Vision is going to be pivotal for Legion.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to make sure that they've got these team fights set up for themselves appropriately and in a way that's going to be safe for the Misfortune, most important, right? So
Yeah.
that is definitely going to be something to watch out for. I do think it's really exciting to see Must Forgive Me on a little bit of a more carry-oriented pick this time around, given the fact that he had such a strong lane in game number 1, and then just the fact that he was on the Zac meant that he couldn't really push that lead as far as I think maybe he would have liked to. So that's definitely a really exciting R5 pick.
Yeah, I was actually thinking that as well, and it's a fantastic point, crewman, because if he can get ahead and snowball his lead and split push, he may be able to mitigate the threat of the all-in dive altogether. To send a couple people at least to take care of this Gwen, who is such a strong champion in a split push, can destroy turrets.
Yeah, absolutely. If the Gwen is going to force an answer in the side lane and not going to give AIE Anguish the opportunity to group as 5 and look for these team fights, that definitely can throw a big wrench in their game plan. So we'll see how much pressure Must Forgive Me is going to be able to create over in the side lane. The only lane that I feel like we haven't really touched on too much just yet, Stout, is actually that mid lane, Nico versus Galio. What do we think about this matchup? Nico
Yeah,
obviously being picked into the Galio.
I didn't really touch on it because Galio against another mage, especially Nico, poke reliant mage, aside from when she hits level 6 and has her again, I'm sorry, bad with ability
Top
names.
Blossom. Yeah.
Top, I wanted to say that, and I thought that was her. Still, with her Pop Blossom and the Maokai Twisted Advance, that's incredible setup. However, before that, Galio is tanky, can push lanes reliably, and does have his ability to buffer to get out of sticky situations with his taunt. So I don't expect there to be too much action pre-level 6, and even at level 6, if he plays safe, he's a relatively good champion to pick here, especially because he can get out of situations with his abilities and has a lot of innate tankiness.
Yeah,
Still,
absolutely.
what I'm worried about Legion is we saw last game that the synergy wasn't necessarily there in team fights. And with a composition like this that requires so much vision setup early, it requires everyone to know their positioning in the fight and be there to have priority over these neutral objectives. You don't have the same pull the trigger and just go ability does with the Malphite, the Nico, and the Maokai are, especially because Maokai's grasp is so good at setting up fights for free, essentially.
Yeah. Definitely does feel like AIE Anguish took, kind of the most important pieces of what made their game 1 draft so successful, right? The fact that it is so easy to execute on, and the fact that they have these clear ways to play out the fights, I think was really beneficial for them. And they do absolutely have access to that once again. So we'll see if they can secure an unprecedented 2-0. AIE Anguish been struggling so much all season long. They could come in here and get a 2-0 tonight. That would absolutely do wonders, for their mentals and for their confidence, looking forward. For Legion, obviously, very important that they try to find a way to come back into this game. Playoff hopes on the line, running out of matches to play here in the season. Are you in the camp of AIE Anguish having a stronger draft here, Stoat, for the reasons that you were kind of talking about?
Yeah, generally speaking, yeah, for sure. If Gwen doesn't get ahead, I think this is going to be a very
All right. Yeah, kind of all on Must Forgive Me to see what they're going to be able to get done on the Gwen to try and throw a wrench into this game plan of AIE Anguish that was so successful in game number 1. We're going to go to another short break, guys. Don't go anywhere. Game 2 right after this. Okay, folks, here we are once again. Summoner's Rift, our second game of the night. Our first game tragically cut short. Hopefully, that will not be the case once again. We do have Legion now on the red side for the second one, and AIE Anguish over onto the blue, looking for the 2-0.
Yeah, we've got Malphite going in for a cheeky ward. Really? Oh, okay. I guess there's no ward. Okay, there we go. Finally. I was questioning what the point of that was if they were vision. But, pretty mild beginning. Just getting some early vision down. No one really wants to fight this.
Did see Must Forgive Me get a deep ward onto the enemy blue buff as well. So a few wards traded across here. Definitely a larger ward investment from Legion. So they've used 3 wards, only that 1 ward come out so far from Anguish.
Yeah, and I would really like to see some very cheeky early game aggression coming out of Cream Cheese, because Sejuani's early game ganks are so vicious, and she is surprisingly strong early game. You may not think it given she's a tank, but her early game damage is nothing to scoff at.
Yeah, particularly if you have those melee teammates to help you stack up the E, right? Can get that stun out very, very quickly. And she does have quite a lot of melee teammates in this game, so all kinds of different ganking opportunities should be available to Cream Cheese. If you remember last game, did find that level 2 gank into the bottom lane on the Jarvan.
Yes, and now she is on red side, and so the gank opportunities against Chef J is going to be so much stronger. The bot lane, really needs to be careful. Decoy does have the shield, does have his slow, so there's that. However, you're still a melee champion on Braum, and Kai'Sa has her peel, but Braum does not have very disengage or peel outside of his ultimate ability.
Speaking of similarities to last game, we are going to see Zebra Killer counter jungle the Raptor. Is going to be able to get the red buff as well, and I think was onto that red buff after the wards expired. So I don't know if Cream Cheese is actually aware this counter jungling is taking place. Regardless, the Sejuani hovering around towards this bot side right now, thinking about trying to make something happen, but it doesn't seem like the opportunity is necessarily going to present itself. There was a ward in the river, is spotting the Sejuani as she starts to move in. Still only level 2 on the Kai'Sa and the Braum, but they're close enough to the turret. I think they should be all right here. Decoy will have to flash away. So there's that early game damage of the Sejuani that you were talking about. Going to force out the summoner spells.
Yeah, and that Sejuani passive doing work. Knocking Braum down, beating him in his own game. And Braum forced to flash, and now they're not in a great spot.
Ooh. Forgive me, popping the ghost up here, looking for the solo kill once again, and NyQuil gonna flash and still go down. Must Forgive Me, just picking up right where they left off in game 1.
And I gotta say, crewman, this is really looking like a repeat of the last game with slightly different champions. Or I guess vastly different, my bad. But still, I like to see that from Must Forgive Me, because he knows now he's got a champion that he can truly carry on. I mean, Gwen is a late game monster, and it's going to be really hard for, oh, I'm sorry, some action.
Yeah, Azure Fire going to find Cream Cheese on the Raptors there. I think the Sejuani was able to get most of those.
Yeah, she's got 19 CS, so yeah, she got most of that camp. Still 6 min.
Oh, Decoy in trouble down here. No flash on the Braum. Just going to get taken down by Tagless, but Shinsun in response going to get ignited. Decoy going to get the last hit on the enemy support. So 1 for 1 in the bot lane, but you have to say that favors Legion given where the gold did go.
Oh, for sure. Gwynta Misfortune of all champions, and Misfortune's laning phase, granted, it's going to be hard for her in team fights given that there's a Braum and there's so much counter engage on the side of Anguish. However, she is a lane bully through and through, and before level 6, she's going to do a lot of damage. The last thing you want to... Unfortunately, wasn't First Blood. That went to Must Forgive Me. Still, a good amount of gold. 300 gold is nothing to laugh.
Yeah, absolutely right. So we can see from the pings, actually, AIE Anguish, full knowledge of where Cream Cheese is on the map right now. They do know exactly what Sejuani is up to, as both neutrals are alive. We have an Infernal Dragon to start us out for this second game.
Yeah, and it looks like she's just going to back. You know, the wave's in a good spot for Legion's bot lane, so I don't think there's going to be too much action going on here. Or are they going to? Nope, they're not going to disrespect them. But this dragon should go over to Anguish pretty easy. Map. So she may just trade for the Void Grub. And I think that's actually pretty wise given that Fortune, given that Galio. These are all champions that Gwen, they want to shove into the turret.
Yeah, certainly I think more power for Legion on this top side right now. Speaking of which, Needlework coming out onto Nyquil will have to ultimate away as Cream Cheese also making their presence felt towards this top lane. So continuing to punish Nyquil. 2 games in a row on the Malphite, you know, clearly I think he was ready for this kind of experience, right? His picking Malphite 2 games in a row, he knows he's not really trying to win the lane. He's not going to play for that. He's just going to look to be useful for the team later on in those fights.
Absolutely, and credit to Nyquil, he's still up about 10 CS, 11 CS in a losing matchup, and that's a big deal.
Absolutely, yeah, good shout there. Malphite able to CS very consistently so far, even though he is being pressured by the Gwen. So we do see that anticipated trade of neutrals did go through. Grubs over to Legion, and the first dragon once again going towards AIE.
Yeah, and really, if Sejuani can help Malphite stop the bleeding, granted, good job on Nyquil.
Oh, Concussive blows stacked up onto the Taric. Unbreakable put up by Decoy. Prevent that trade back. So it looks like this wave is pushing in towards Legion right now. They're going to be able to catch this pretty comfortably underneath the turret.
Yeah, and honestly, good thing for Legion because Zebra Killer right in the neighborhood. And yeah, I mean, Zebra Killer with Decoy's Braum, that is the kind of lockdown Misfortune just won't survive. She also did not take Cleanse. So
There comes Cream Cheese once again in towards the top lane. Nyquil, no flash, no ult, no hope. That is going to be another kill. Over to Legion. Cream Cheese getting the last hit on this one, and a turret plate over to the Gwen.
Oh, yes. A turret plate, and although she didn't get the kill, still going to get a lot of free farm, which help her catch up in some of that minion score. And the XP from the plate is just going to further snowball this lead.
Ooh, that is going to be a flash away for Azure Fire as Cream Cheese very active these last couple of minutes. Got access to the Glacial Prison, immediately going to toss that one out. But the other jungler, the Maokai, going to find the nature, is grasp onto the Braum. Really nice on break from Decoy to deny the bullet time. That is exactly why the Braum is so good into Misfortune. And that's going to be the side of Anguish, able to get the 1-for-0 in this bot lane.
Yeah, and a big greedy to take Ghost as the second summoner spell instead of Cleanse, because she has to blow both summoners to get away. She may realistically have been able to blow Cleanse for that Maokai ult and just run away with her movement speed and power W or strut. Unfortunately, not the way it played out. And she's a sitting duck now. She's got no summoners and she's playing Misfortune. No way to escape if she gets any CC.
Yeah, I think the Ghost is a little bit surprising as Cream Cheese hovering once again towards the mid lane this time. Azure Fire is going to pop the W, and I think Cream Cheese knows which one is the real one. One more auto attack, stacks up the Permafrost. Does he have enough damage? Maybe one more auto, the potion ticking. Oh, the W, the displacement from the Bramble Smash of Zebra Killer keeps the mid laner alive. And now Cream Cheese in trouble, flashing for another Bramble Smash. Oh no, the W comes off cooldown once again, and then Nico's gonna get clocked by the maze.
Clutch versus Clutch, crewman. What did I just witness? That was crazy. Cream Cheese really making the best out of an awful situation.
Oh man, there's a Gwen in my jungle, says Zebra Killer. What's all that about? He's just gonna get cut down. Who knew? Scissors were such a great tool for cutting down trees.
Zebra Killer's the one who's being big game hunted here. That is no Gwen. This Gwen is getting fed.
Yeah, she's very strong. Nyquil unafraid though. stepping forward, knows that the needlework is on cooldown. I'm gonna go in with the unstoppable force for the ultimate. Does the Gwen have enough healing? She doesn't have her item completed yet. She doesn't have the Omni Vamp, but she does have the damage. Oh, NyQuil opted in for that one. It's gonna get cut down, and it's kill number 3 over to Must Forgive Me.
Wow, that baited me as much as I think it baited NyQuil Cold Killer there. I genuinely believed that that Malphite was gonna get the kill, but just by the skin of his teeth, Must Forgive Me carrying that fight, and this is exactly what we were talking about early on. This Gwen is getting started. This is going to be a problem.
Connect for stealth. Nico potentially in trouble once again. Doesn't have the flash or the ultimate. The Glacial Prison will connect, and stealth gets the last hit. And Legion now opening up a 7-2 lead on the scoreboard. Zebra Killer on the grubs right now, but Cream Cheese can easily move over and push off this Maokai. Should have the ability for Galio to move over as well. And yes, here comes Stealth. The Maokai does manage to smite one away. So that is one grub at least. But Zebra Killer might have to pay for that one. He's going to utilize the Nature's Grasp as well to disengage. 2v2 the situation right now. But the side of AIE Anguish know that they are not on the stronger end of that one, as even there were more members moving over for Legion.
Yeah,
so there'll be 5 grubs. One grub did go over to the Maokai. So 5 out of 6 for Legion.
Still fantastic. It's going to be a lot of power, and that's exactly what you need. You need to accelerate the game because you do not want to give this Malphite a chance to get some defensive stats. Yes, he can use his unstoppable force, but if he can't really survive, it could be an int.
CC on a Cream Cheese, but onto the Maokai as well. In comes Chef J from long range. Killer Instinct to close the distance, but can't quite finish anybody off as the side of Legion are able to disengage.
Yeah, Nico's Pop Blossom landing on no one there. Cream Cheese, that could have been sent.
Yeah, absolutely right. If they'd been able to hold somebody in place long enough for Chef J to get out those auto attacks, that's going to be the flash away from Shinsen. Able to stay alive, though, on the Taric. This Dragon is alive. This would be Dragon number 2 for Anguish if they can secure it. And the side of Legion are down a number of really important cooldowns right now. They do not have the Sejuani ultimate. They're missing Flash still on Tagless as well as Cream Cheese. Looks like this Dragon will just go over. Let's see what kind of soul we got for this game. Ocean.
And you know, I think that Air Drake is actually very fortunate for Anguish because if you look at Legion's team composition, aside from the Sejuani and Galio to a lesser extent, a much lesser extent, there's no real gap closer. Most of these champions are walking at you. And so having that empowered movement speed gives you so much more agency to move around the map.
Saber Killer in trouble here. One more auto attack. Frostbite should come through. The bullet time to seal the deal. And Tagless picks up their second.
Yeah, no amount of movement speed saving you from that one. So, pretty good pickup for the bot lane. Misfortune having 2 kills now and up about 2 minion waves. So that's pretty substantial lead going in so far. And I can imagine if they can pop that Braum shield in the fights, which Gwen can do pretty well with her needlework and with her snip snip. This Misfortune will have a lot of room to play with to use her bullet time. However, you still always have to be careful of that Malphite. He is the ever-present threat and the bane of this Misfortune's life.
Yeah, it does bring us back to the Taric ultimate, right? If the Cosmic Radiance is well-timed, can protect the Misfortune from that all-in from the Malphite, right? So it's going to come down to execution in these fights. You know, it's a little bit of a gold lead right now for Legion. They do have the lead in terms of kills, and they're up about 2K. But the Dragons, once again, in favor of AIE Anguish. And it did feel like that's kind of where the whole game fell apart for Legion in the previous game, right? Was that fight around the 3rd Dragon. Needlework coming out once again. Must Forgive Me looking to close the distance onto the Malphite. Not willing to commit the Ghost, though.
Yeah.
Move over. And here comes the Pop Blossom. That's going to connect onto 2. The Unstoppable Force for the follow-up CC. They're not quite able to finish anybody off, though. The Galio ultimate comes in over the top, and Malphite now overextended behind enemy lines. Will be the first casualty of this fight. Zebra Killer forced the flash over the wall to get away from the Sejuani stun. The flash follow from Stealth connects onto the Nico. Azure Fire in trouble will get taken down. Cream Cheese on a killing spree, and Legion continuing to rack up their advantage.
That was a great engage from Anguish, you know. NyQuil having an excellent flash, excellent unstoppable force engage, but unfortunately, he's so far behind, he doesn't really do anything. He doesn't even have a single item completed. He's down in levels, down in gold, and honestly, I think that was really the best you could expect from that fight. There was no real damage coming out, and Nico, the only real damage dealer in that fight, just didn't have enough and got popped. So
Yeah.
unfortunate, very unfortunate. And I really want to draw attention to the Gnasher's Tooth built on this Gwen. I wonder if that is a call out saying, I'm going to be a split push monster, and you're not going to stop me.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would make a lot of sense into the Malphite, right? And this entire composition for AIE Anguish, they don't really have a great champion to answer the Gwen in a side lane. You know, on top of that as well, Legion able to secure 5 of the 6 heavens means that they're even going to have access to the Twitch chatters as well to be helping out that Gwen in the side lane. So definitely, I think a strong build in this scenario, and must forgive me, having a great game so far, 4-0 on this Gwen. We'll see if they actually feel the pressure that they have to contest for this first Ocean Dragon, or maybe they will just play for the side lane, as you say.
Yeah, and frankly, I think they can do without this Ocean Dragon. It's not going to be making a big difference. They already have, I mean, yeah, it's an Ocean Soul, but I don't think it's really the most important soul. And they have a lot of damage that can burn, right? You've got Gwen, and she's already got that, wow. Okay, she's got the, okay, I totally forgot the item's name.
The Gnasher's
Tooth? Yeah. And I imagine she could go Leandries, which would be an interesting build. I don't think it's the most likely, but I think that would be a great answer to the Ocean Drake. If you could give it up, even if they get Soul, it's going to be so difficult to fight that all AoE burn with her ultimate.
Yeah, well, very true.
And
Stealth able to put on the pressure towards this mid lane. It's going to get this wave shoved all the way up towards the tier 2 turret with only 20 seconds left until the dragon does spawn. As we can see, Legion with complete control over the area right now. The Scuttle Crab is providing some vision for Anguish, and they do have some members in the area. It feels like maybe they do want to try to move in to contest for this, but Legion setting a trap, just waiting in the banana brush.
And I want to point out the item, the Shirelia's battle song coming out for Galio, and I really like to see that because, like I said, these champions are mostly walking at you. Well, you can walk really fast.
Yeah, I mean, this feels pretty ill-advised for Anguish to take this fight. The position is so much better for the side of Legion as the Cosmic Radiance will come out, deny the Nature's Grasp. Michael has made their way into the play. He's going to be able to join up, but the rest of the team finds the unstoppable force. 1-3! The engage absolutely massive from the top laner. The pop awesome as well. Look at Chef J just free-firing in the backline. The Kaisa flashing over the wall, stunned is tagless, can't do a thing. Cream Cheese, the last to fall, and AI Anguish again for the second game in a row find a massive team fight around the third dragon.
And that was so beautiful. What a flank ultimate coming out of NyQuil. Really doing the most with the champion. You just can't give this guy mouth. And really, that's the danger of this composition is, yes, you guys are ahead, but without your Gwen in a great position, with your Misfortune open, there's not much damage outside of those two, and Misfortune's damage is largely mitigated. Shield, as we saw, that unbreak, that was really just well done.
Oh man, yeah, and before that point, I mean, Tagless was feeling so strong on the Misfortune, but Chef J able to pick up the quadra kill there. Now has about a 1,700 gold lead in that 80 carry matchup. Absolutely massive. I mean, we can see a huge lead for Must Forgive Me still in the top lane as well over the Malphite. But I mean, that's the Gwen went for the team fight, right? Must Forgive Me rotated down, joined up with the rest of the team, and it didn't work out. It wasn't enough to turn the tide in their favor. It was the side of AIE Anguish that were just better coordinated. You know, the Taric ultimate came out at the beginning just to deny the Maokai ultimate, meant it wasn't available for when NyQuil Cold Killer decided to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and you know, I think that was a big mistake. I think you really do need to hold that for this Malphite engage. That is the truly deadly engage coming out of the team. I think Nico and Malphite are the two ultimates you really need to worry about and save that ult. Because Maokai's ultimate that Nature's Grasp is just going to set up for either of these champions.
Yeah, and the other thing about excuse me, the Nature's Grasp is the fact that it can be blocked, right? You can just have any number of these really tanky champions on the side of Legion, either your Sejuani, your Galio, your Taric, any of these guys just stand in front. They tank up the Maokai ultimate, and everybody else should be totally fine. But it seemed like a big investment early on in the fight. I mean, maybe Legion just feeling like their positional advantage at the start should be enough to kind of help them carry through, as long as they deny sort of that initial attempt from Anguish to regain some position of their own. But that was absolutely not the case, and now you can see them looking once again. NyQuil has his R button off, cooldown. He's got his finger hovering over it.
Yeah, and this is the real problem, like we were talking about earlier. They need to have the no vision set up on the map. And this is a big problem. You need this setup. You cannot just walk into a team.
Virtual Prison connects onto Chef J, who also doesn't have cleanse, with the Braum heroically standing in front, blocking the bullet time, keeping the AD carry alive. Zebra Killer going back in for the re-engage as well. Tagless chunked low, but Zebra Killer, of course, even lower, has to flash over the wall to try to get away. Now it's Decoy on the front lines, puts up the door once again. Maokai trying to hang around, so the Braum has somebody to jump to. It's going to be Chef J going back in! Assassinates the Misfortune, but now stunned up a strength and flashes back in. The Nico comes out of left field. The Pop Blossom onto 2 is going to lock down the Taric, and now Cream Cheese once again. The last surviving member for Legion in the fight. Chef J goes godlike, and they're onto the Baron once again.
Chef J serving these fools up. That was incredible. I mean, that took some serious guts to go in pretty much no HP and have that confidence in yourself to say, yeah, I'm just going to ace you guys. Yeah, I'm going to destroy you. And Gwen, yeah, she's split pushing. That's great, but they're going to have a Baron to answer this. And what they're showing is Gwen can split push, but you cannot win the team fights. So what is this going to mean later in the game? This is not looking good for Legion.
That's where we're at now. That's the game state we're looking at. It is Must Forgive Me in the side lane versus all of AIE Anguish with the objective control and the team fights just on lock. They are executing in these fights again and again.
And crewman, I really like to see the on-hit Kaisa build coming out, the Terminus, the Gwynsos, the Static Shiv, because there's so many tanky members on Anguish, on Legion's side, that it makes sense if you had... Oh, hold on. Galio is...
All right, flash forward, looking to lock down this Nico. Tagless should be able to have the damage and will immediately take down Azure Fire. And now it's the Taric in trouble, though. A little bit of an unfortunate path there around that very thick wall. Couldn't get back up towards the turret. The Nature's Grasp going to lock him down. And that is just going to manifest as a 1-for-1.
Pretty good pick. They're not surrendering the dragon, though. This is getting pretty risky.
I mean, again, it feels like a better position for Legion, right? The trade support for mid laner on the other side could be favorable to them. But, I mean, that's what we said before as well. And AIE Anguish were able to make it work. Galio Taunt is going to connect onto the Malphite, but that's not really the target you're looking for. He's going to be tanky enough to survive for a while here. In comes Must Forgive Me, though. Looking to start doing some work with these scissors. Braum puts up the door. The Glacial Fisher pretty nice onto 3, but now the Unbreakable's on cooldown. The bullet time has to be flashed away from, as now the side of AIE Anguish are forced to scatter. The Malphite cannot get away, and now the Galio Tilt's going to connect once again, but Azure Fire has respawned. The Nico back from base. The Galio's going to get taken down, and Legion, they've delved a little bit too greedily and too deep into the team fight. Chef J, was that really the angle you're looking for? A little bit aggressive into the Dragon Pit like that. Yes, it was perfectly set up as the Nico comes in from the side, gets a massive Pop Blossom. Chef J flashes back out, stays alive for now, but the CC comes through once again, and the formerly deathless Kaisa gonna get snipped to pieces by Must Forgive Me, who lines up the triple kill. Very back and forth in that fight, but finally a win for Legion.
Yeah, that was a little precarious. Again, Legion almost having that miscommunication issue and overstepping. Somehow they clutch it out. So well on them. That was unnecessarily risky. Sejuani did not get the memo. Still, they make it work. They get the dragon, and fantastic pick. They saw, okay, no ultimates. Let's just go in. We got the Nico killed. We've got this Malphite locked in. Misfortune over a wall. 3 people body blocking her. there is no way Unstoppable Force is going to hit her. So very well done on Anguish. Legion, rather.
Absolutely.
Keep confusing them.
Right.
My bad. Still,
I mean, it's just
great
a
job.
little bit difficult because we had the team name changed in the moments before we went live tonight. So that it does make things a little bit difficult in that regard. But I mean, it's even bigger that the fact that Legion were able to win out in that fight. It's even more important because it means they wipe off all of those Baron buffs, right? That were just acquired by AIE Anguish. They are not. That is going to be, you know, a very negative Baron power play, and not able to secure the soul obviously either. So Legion, you know, winning that fight, I think realistically actually just keeps them in the game.
I think you're absolutely right, crewman, and I think it's a big deal that those Baron buffs are gone.
Oh, we got another fight in the mid lane. Concussive blow stacked up onto Shinsen. And the Tarek's not going to be able to get out the Cosmic Radiance on cooldown. Tarek, nothing to do there. Gonna get taken out. That long range engage and the follow-up from Chef J, so powerful. They're gonna be able to secure this tier 1 in the mid lane. Don't know if they'll be able to get too much else though.
Yeah, tagless, play safe. I like to see that. Too many times have I seen an AD carry get caught on the turret without anyone nearby.
Yeah.
But, you know, I do think it's a big deal the Baron buffs were taken off because this Gwen is going to split push, right? And Malphite doesn't have great wave clear. That Baron empowered minions, those were going to keep her at bay, but those are off the table now. Baron is not up for another minute and a half. So it's going to be hard to set up too with this Gwen finishing her 4th item. Going to go for that.
It's really strong, yeah.
And Malphite has no MR at all.
Yeah, pretty shocking, honestly. So, you know, it does have some Mercury treads, I guess. That's something.
Yeah.
3 levels down to this Gwen as well. It Must Forgive Me is by far the strongest character in the game. It's just going to be a question if they can translate that into the win, right? That's something else that I wanted to mention. You know, my good friend Ryline's been casting this nameless, well, formerly nameless squad all season. Over there on the Nameless channel, and he said that was the biggest thing that they struggled with, was just closing out games. You know, even when they had leads, when they had advantages, they have not been able to consistently put the finishing touches on these games. So that's definitely what we're going to be looking out for.
Yeah, and we saw that last game, right, where granted, yeah, they were behind, but they had opportunity to win, and really just miscommunication. The top had a lead, granted, not a lead like this, and not on a champion like this. We saw what this Gwen could do. You know, NyQuil taking a few snips and going down to about half HP. That is not what you want to see out of your tank top laner, especially not when the open inhibitor is on the opposite side of the map as the Baron.
Well, this is pretty nice from Legion here. They've got Gwen creating pressure in the side lane, and they're thinking about going straight onto this Baron as it spawns. Gwen creating pressure on the opposite side of the map. We just saw Legion clear out all the vision in the area. I mean, Anguish have to be aware that this is happening, but the question is, what are they going to be able to do about it? Must Forgive Me is only has to go against the Malphite down there. He's going to be able to get the inhibitor by himself, as the Baron is getting burned down. Cosmic Radiance comes out once again to deny the Nature's Grass. Bullet Time is a good response. Popalism doesn't really connect onto anybody there. It could be the Legion winning out in the team fight, but Stealth gets taken down. First, Chef J into the backline, looking to take down Tagless, and Misfortune will be felled by this Kaisa, who is also ridiculously strong. It's going to be Anguish, wiping Legion out in the team fight. Must Forgive Me still trying to do some work in the side lane. You know, did manage to take out the inhibitor, but the Gwen can't end the game in Malphite's face. It's going to be the Baron going over to AIE Anguish once again.
You just have to feel for Must Forgive Me. He's doing all he can on this champion, and he just can't get a break. His team gets wiped while he's trying to split push.
Yeah, I mean, okay, here comes the Gwen. Can he take down the Kaisa? It's Gwen versus Kaisa in this fight. Chef J flashes away from the very scary Scissor Lady. The Snips doing their work, almost enough to take down Decoy, but the CC is just a little bit too much. The maxed out shutdown goes over to Chef J, and it's going to be AIE Anguish securing the Ocean Soul on top.
And, I mean, you really saw it there. The Taric, unfortunately, using his ults very early. Shinsen using his ult so early in that fight, and it didn't amount to much. Kaisa could just go to the back line and rip apart the Misfortune and clean up thereafter. I think that's a big part of why these team fights have not always been going in favor of Legion. That you have to be so careful with the Taric ultimate. You know, like we were saying earlier, save it for the real damn threats. The Maokai ultimate is not a good precursor to use that ultimate. Taric's ultimate, that is.
Right,
You know,
right, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, I think we just have to give a lot of credit to Chef J for playing these fights so calmly and, you know, knowing the moment when you need to go in. I mean, that is really the crux of the champion, right? Especially when you're playing this AD Kaisa. It's all about looking for that one moment where you're going to have your opportunity to Killer Instinct into the backline, assassinate the enemy carry, and finish out the fight from there. And Chef J has been doing that so beautifully in this game.
He has. I mean, he's really showing off his skills this game. He's
Oh, Decoy in trouble. Had a little bit of an awkward blast going a moment ago to put him in this position. Trying to get towards Chef J. Will be able to stand beside the Kaisa. Glacial Fissure comes out as well. On to 2. The Cosmic Radiance is going to nullify the Pop Blossom. And the bullet time is interrupted by the Unstoppable Force. Tagless is assassinated once again as NyQuil comes in from the side. Eliminates the enemy AD carry. It is still Must Forgive Me alive here towards the back line. Can he get on top of the Kaisa? The answer is no. The double kill goes over to Chef J. Another teamfight win for AIE Anguish. Only the Sejuani alive. I think Anguish can look to end.
Yeah, that should be the game. And, you know, that was a great too little, too late. They're so far ahead. There's really not much you could do against the Kaisa. She have to pop her Zanya's. Her full HP. No one can touch Chef J.
Yeah, untouchable Kaisa in this game. Absolutely right, Stoke. And that is going to do it. The Tagless still in a couple of seconds is not going to be in time to save the Nexus. A devastating 0-2 defeat tonight for Legion. You know, we'll have to see. Their closest competition in the standings, Stoat, was Goon Squad Gaming, who are facing off against the other bottom 2 team tonight, First Class Esports. You know, this was supposed to be an expected win for both of these teams ahead of them actually going head-to-head next week in week number 8. But, I mean, with this loss, Legion, they're going to have to be preying on Goon Squad's downfall as well, on a potential first-class esports upset also, you know, on the other side of in the other game that was happening tonight. But this is definitely not how they wanted things to go. I mean, big shout out to AIE Anguish, who came in tonight. They really showed up. I mean, they were really coordinated. They played those fights out really, really well, and a well-deserved 2-0 for them. The first of the season.
Look at Chef J's damage. It's about the same as Cream Cheese and Must Forgive Me's damage combined.
Oh my goodness, you're right. Yeah, I mean, the Gwen was so strong in the side lane, in the 1v1, but it just felt like once you got into the team fights, wasn't really able to have that same impact.
Absolutely, and it's really unfortunate. Must Forgive Me really did all game. The coordination just wasn't there again this game, and I really want to praise AIE Anguish playing to their win conditions, playing to their composition strengths, and knowing when to pull the trigger. For the most part, there were some hiccups, but they recovered, and they landed a 2-0 in an upset victory. Fantastic play.
Yeah, I mean, they only had one game win all season up until tonight. They're able to triple the number of wins that they got this season with this 2-0. Absolutely incredible stuff. And just again, what a performance from Chef J in this game on the Kaisa was just clinical, and how he was able to pick apart Legion in this one.
Yeah, you know, first game Azure Fire made a name for himself. Chef J really, I think, definitely the MVP.
Yeah, I mean, good shout out towards Azure Fire in that game 1 as well. Had a really great performance on the Ahri to get them that first win. You know, obviously, at the end of that game, Chef J did have a great KDA on the Caitlyn as well. I believe it was 9-1 and something. We didn't actually see in the end, you know, what the action was like that led to that Nexus exploding in game 1. But thankfully, no technical difficulties here for the second game, which was just lovely. We're able to watch the whole thing start to finish. But yeah, I mean, I think the POG is pretty clear here, and just huge, massive ups to AIE Anguish, able to get this win and really show us something, you know, towards the end of the season here.
Yeah, you know, maybe they really found their groove. Let's see. Hopefully they come back next season, and if they are here, I'm really looking forward to see how this team evolves. It looks like they really have some punch.
Yeah, so going over the remaining schedule for these two squads, I already mentioned that Legion are going up against their closest competition in the race for that last playoff spot next week. They're going to be going up against Goon Squad Gaming, and then their last opponent of the round robin is going to be SG Proton in that week number 9, SG Proton being the 4th place team right now. So, after this loss, things are looking pretty difficult for Legion. I mean, they are not going to have any easier opponents than this. I mean, this was supposed to be a guaranteed win for them, right? To keep them in that playoff race, but taking the 0-2 here, not even able to get a single game off of AIE Anguish, the last place team, is not a good sign for them at all.
No,
we'll have to see if they can.
Definitely does not bode well, and you got to imagine good hit to the morale. I really hope the team can recover, because you're going to need to pull out all the stops if you want to make playoffs.
Yeah, they're really going to need to come back in a big way for these last couple of weeks. But, as for AIE Anguish, they do have a Conduit UMAD, a.k.a. the Conduit Kecklers, who are in 8th place right now. So should be another beatable opponent for them, theoretically. If they're able to do this to Legion, then, they should be able to take the fight to Conduit as well. And then their last opponent of the season for Anguish is going to be Agni Kai, the 3rd place team. So that should definitely be a tough fight for them, but maybe they could even play spoiler for Agni Kai and drop them down a spot or something in the standings, and give them a more difficult road in the playoffs. We'll just have to wait and see. But I mean, this was, again, just really great to see from AIE.
Absolutely was great to see, and I mean, maybe they could be bracket destroyer here. Maybe if they can't get in, they can destroy other people's hopes of getting in or holding on to the spots they currently hold in the standing.
Absolutely, exactly what they were able to do tonight. Just sort of throw a wrench into the game plan for Legion, and really, gonna have to send them back to the drawing board in terms of what their game plan is going to be for these last couple of weeks. But do you have any final thoughts on the stream tonight, Stoat? Anything else you wanted to mention regarding, the BOL Plat League, or just, the League of Legends space right now in general?
As far as the teams go, I just want to say again, another shout out to AIE Anguish for making this upset happen, making this really fun to cast, because on paper it did look like a clean 2-0 for Legion, but they said, nah, we're going to write this. So fantastic play. That was really fun to watch. As for the game in general, I just say, everyone, check out Gen G versus T1 Finals if you want an incredible series.
Yeah, the new El Clasico over there in the LCK. They've been, what is it? Gen G and T1 have been in the last 5 finals in a row or something. So
yes,
always a banger for sure. But yeah, I mean, that's gonna pretty much do it from us tonight, guys. Do want to give a big thank you to anybody who stuck around through the technical difficulties. Apologies again, the fact that we weren't able to bring you guys the end of that game number 1, but yeah, Spectator Client has just been really, really difficult to work with lately. So, hopefully, our dear small indie company Riot can figure out something to do about that. But we won't be getting our hopes up just yet. But from myself, from Stoat here, from our lovely producer, Alls, from everybody at the Blue Otter League, thank you guys very, very much for watching. We appreciate every single one of you. We'll see you again next week. Same time, same place for some more BOL Plat League action. And of course, tomorrow as well, we do have both the Diamond League and the Gold League going to be on tomorrow night, same time, same place also. So be sure to stay tuned for that, for some more Blue Otter League action. For now, from us, thank you again, and good night.